Hello and welcome to this second first look exploring session looking at Fedele and Fortunio, adapted by Anthony Munday, a rather cracking comedy so far. We've looked at Act 1, we're now looking today at Act 2 and 3. We have various people in love with each other, as one of the servants said earlier. Fedele loves Victoria and she hath him forgot. Virginia likes Fedele best and he regards her not. That doesn't sum up the entire plot, but it give you a sort of sense and taste of what's going on, and hopefully servant characters will every so often drop in a little exposition for those who are either asleep and or latecomers to the show. We are going to be reading through, Act 2 and Act 3, getting a better sense of how the comedy functions. I'm hoping that this continues to be that relatively fast-paced comedy business that we got used to in Act 1, but we shall see where the play will go with this wonderful room of readers. So we actually have more readers than we have parts, so some people are sharing parts as we go along. So reading Crackstone in Act 2 will be...
Hi, Steve Longstaffe, scholar of early modern drama, based in the northwest of England, and actually it should be Crawston, not Crackstone.
Oh, should it now? Should it?
Crawston, dear boy.
Reading Crackstone or Captain Cheese or Captain Crust in Act 3 is...
Aliki, Chapple, also based in the northwest of England.
Reading the Pedant in Act 2 will be...
Hello, my name's Francis Cox. I'm an actor living in Amsterdam.
And being handed the baton of pedantry in Act 3 will be...
Hi, Dan, actor based in Montpellier, France.
Reading Fedele throughout the text will be...
Hello, I'm Tamara, this is Sammy, and we're coming to you from Germany.
Sammy, who has, frankly, a considerably better social media footprint than we do. Reading Virginia is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm trying not to knock anything over, which is basically every day of my life.
Reading Pamphilia today is...
Hi, Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
Reading Medusa, a sorceress/peddler, is...
Hello, I'm Emma Kemp. I'm an actor and I live in London.
Reading Attilia throughout both of the acts is...
Hi, I'm Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer and director living in Germany.
Reading Fortunio today is...
Hi, I'm Briony Sparrow and I'm an actress based in the East Midlands.
And joining us for the first time, be kind and lovely people. Reading Victoria is...
Hi, I'm Zoe Land. I'm coming to you from the south of France in Nice.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions and jumping in when things go horribly, horribly wrong, which frankly is probably inevitable. We're diving into Act 2. There's been some lovely, pleasant music between the acts playing, but Act 2, Scene 1, enter Captain Crackstone, disguised like a schoolmaster in the apparel of Pedant, who we met earlier, with a book in his hand.
Oft, for it is night. I must not make any noise when I trow. Methinks this apparel makes me learn it. Which of these stars do I know? Yonder is the green dog and the blue bear, Hariona's girdle and the lion's ear. Methinks I should spout Latin before I beware. Argos mecum insputare, cur canis tolit poplitem, cum mingit imperietem. Alice Tittle-Tattle, Mistress Victoria's maid. If I speak like a schoolmaster, she will never be afraid. As soon as she opens the door to let me in, with my ruperical aliquancy, I will begin. Suinum, velum, porcum, gregusorum, eostibus.
Enter Fedele and Pedant.
Rentibus, dentibus, lophidicibus, come after us. I berate myself, I think, with speaking so high. This is Sir Fedele that is so nigh. Till he be past, it were not good for me to appear. Therefore I'll slip into the temple and hide me in a tomb that standeth there.
Too strange it is that when I should rejoice, a chilling fear doth flit through every vein, and when I hope to hear Victoria's voice, doubt throws me down into despair again. The comfort that she gave me was so cold that for my life I dare not be too bold.
Degeneris animus timor arguit, faint heart never won fair lady, they say, and amor odit inertes. Take that, by the way. Seeing she appointed this time, forward with the courage, never stand you in doubt. Imagination many times fetcheth wanders about, not because it changeth the course of the thing you would find, but because it doth rule and govern the mind.
I shiver still, come bear me company. Until thou seest me nearer to the door, thy speech doth give me comfort mightily, and eggs me on unto it more and more.
Andate allegramente. You are right under her window now. What shall I do? Will you have me to leave you?
Not so, but stay until thou seest me in, to give the sign I purpose to begin.
And here let him either taste a flute or whistle, a lovely turn of phrase, at the sound whereof Victoria comes to the window and throws out a letter, which Fedele taketh up, and reads it at the lamp which burneth in the temple.
What meaneth this? A letter? Woe is me, where shall I read it? Light within the temple I do see.
This greeting, methinks, is none of the best. I see by his countenance he likes not the rest.
A cruel dame that can dissemble so die. Poor Fedele, thy life thou must forego.
What news is in your letter, sir? Tell me.
Read it thyself and see.
La mia mala fortuna m'ha fatto di annuere cosa che meglio sarebbe ch'io non fossi nata. M'incresce non potere anterui la promessa, ma più mi duole che mi sia tolta la comodità del vederio. Però semamate, non passati ma più di qua, perché sarete causa della mia ruina. This is strange upon strange. Your days are outworn.
And the pedant now interprets the letter.
My fortune is such that it had been better for me I had never been born. I am sorry that I cannot stand to my word, and more sorry that fortune to me will not your presence afford. Sith I am robbed of your company, whom I most desire, if you love me, come no more this way, for breeding my trouble and kindling of fire. Here is a sleeveless answer with all my heart. You have your errand, sir. Now, when you will, you may depart.
It cannot be, but that Victoria hath another love. Therefore I purpose presently her privy slights to prove.
You are the fearfullest gentleman that I ever knew. It is impossible that should be true. Your own doubtfulness tangles you still in the briars. Did I never teach you that a woman denies that in show, which indeed she desires? Are all those horrible oaths which so soft she hath sworn, and any likelihood that she would leave you forlorn? Remember her tears and her pitiful looks, if she love you not still. I dare burn my books.
No, no, her oaths and tears and looks and all thou canst repeat were but as shadows finely cast to cover her deceit. But sith I find her as she is, I will revenge the wrong or die the death in this attempt because I live too long.
You are too hasty a soldier. To the battle go, if you will be revenged, ere your enemy you know.
Mine enemies I purpose straight to try. Hide thee within some privy corner here. Be diligent to mark who passeth by, and if that any other man appear, either to enter or to issue out, mark what he is, and put me out of doubt.
And exit Fedele.
Farewell, sir. Commit the care to my hand. As close as I can, in this place I will stand, unseen unto any, yet viewing of all, a pretty scout set to make a knave in a pitfall. Yonder come some, whosoever they be. Stand close, pedant, that nobody see.
And we'll just pause there before we move forward. I have to say, I'm liking the stage directions very much. Taste a flute or whistle. I think that's such a lovely way of putting that. And yes, we have very specific directions as to the letter and where he reads it. And it's interesting that we have the whole letter. The text is available there, as well as the translation. So I'm wondering whether there is a reason for all of that detail or not. But I do not know. We're sort of just getting into it. It's not really the end of the scene. The scene divisions are very much units of principal action, but the scene is effectively continuing in a moment. So we're sort of setting up some business, but not a lot has really happened. Thoughts from the room? Anyone want to leap in on notes of character or other things? Anything that leapt out at them? Sarah?
I am slightly confused by the plot. That letter, was that letter meant for him, or was that letter meant for Fortunio?
I think we can assume it's for Fortunio. She keeps. We know she's dropping letters out of the window every so often.
Yeah.
They said that earlier, and we don't know who it's to. It seems that she's just dropping letters like, messages in a bottle.
Right. So she didn't actually see him under her window.
I don't think she ever sees anyone under a window.
She's just randomly dropped. Right. Okay.
I think she's got some really big pot plants, and she actually can't see down. She's just doing window stuff.
Right. Fair enough. That
I'm
explains
making
it.
this up. I have no idea.
I was like, why would she throw a letter out of the window to Fortunio when he's down below? But anyway, that pot plants is the answer.
Yeah,
always.
pot plants. I think that's the answer to most things here.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some slightly inexplicable things. I mean, we got Crackstone, whose game I'm still not 100% certain precisely what he is trying to do. He's sort of trying to woo and be involved, but he still doesn't seem to have done any definite actions. He's just sort of about. He's quite entertaining, but as of yet, yeah. Other thoughts? It's okay not to have any. It's fine. We can move on. I think we're going to get to some more meat in a moment. So maybe that will start filling in some gaps. So we'll go into Act 2, Scene 2. Enter Medusa. Victoria and Attilia are disguised like nuns. I should have told you in advance. You could have got into the habit straight away. With lighted tapers in their hands, Crackstone lifts up his head out of the tomb and ducks down again, speaking this as followeth.
Oh, rope on these passengers. I am in miserable plight. I think I shall not get out of this place tonight.
'Tis almost 1 o'clock, the fittest hour to bind the sprites, and compass everything that best may further your delights.
Then let us go.
Pedant, you're still on stage.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Krika Devaki, what cattle have we here? Be they women or the devils, in the likeness of women that appear?
Mistress, take heed we be not spied, for that may breed us harm.
No, but like a sort of nuns into the church we sworn.
Into the chapel, we will make as though we meant to pray.
Read good, Medusa.
Ah, miserable Pedant, would I were away! I quiver so fast that I feel no ground. 'Tis a company of witches, I hold 40 pound.
When begin you, sweetheart?
Make haste, you had need, the day will approach and the night gone with speed.
A rope on them all, they go a caterwauling, I trow. Whom they mean to torment, I would gladly know.
This water and this oil I have is conjured, as you see, in the name of those sprites that written on this image be. Now must I write the name of him whom you so much do love, then bind these sprites, him to the like affection for to move. I charge you, as you mean to purchase favour in his sight, and by the virtue of mine art, tell me his name, aright?
Fortunio.
That's he that doth my master for daily disgrace, and this is Victoria disguised in place.
Your name upon the breast, his on the forehead must I write, then conjure. Now it is the stillest time of all the night.
Do so.
I conjure thee, thou waxen image here, by Venus' fruitful womb that Cupid bare, that in Fortunio's name thy force appear, to comfort fair Victoria, full of care, that by the virtue of mine art thou be, in this her grief a present remedy. I conjure thee, Fortunio, at the length, by head, eyes, ears, thy liver and thy heart, thy guts, thy veins, flesh, blood, bones, sinews, strength, thy lights, thy lungs, feet, hands, and every part, that presently thy breast be set on fire, and all thy bowels boil with hot desire. Look that by night thou take no quiet rest, by day thou loathe thy comfortable food. Let every joy be daggers to thy breast. See, hear, and touch naught that may do thee good, till fancy make thee for a lover meet, and throw thee down before Victoria's feet. Look that she never pass out of thy mind, but paint her heavenly face in every thought. Love her above all creatures of her kind. Prosper not till by thee her joys be wrought, but waste as this melts at the candle's flame. Amen. Fiat, fiat, in Cupido's name.
What have you done? And is the spirit come up that you do call?
The greatest fiend of hell, come and take you all.
With oil of virgin wax I thee anoint, and sign and mark thee with the holy cross. In Venus' name I water every joint, that love by thee may never suffer loss.
Now have you done?
It must be pricked and set in greater heat, then the spirit's bound before it do the feat.
Make haste!
I conjure you, ye sprites, whose names are on this image writ, and now rehearse you one by one, in order as you sit. Netabor, Tempactor, Vigilator, Somniator, Astorat, Berlice, Buffon, Amacon, Sushon, Sustani, Asmodeus.
Ottomanus, Sophie, Turk, and the great Jam, Robin Goodfellow, Hobgoblin, the devil and his dam. O vi possono portare in precipitio.
I conjure you, you foul infernal knot of baser sprites, by the most mighty power and force of that great god of love, both by the bow and dreadful dint of all his feathered flights, and by his wings, and by the smoke of lovers' scolding sighs, and by the smart and sorrow that this troubled dame doth prove, by all the planets that our hearts to hate or liking move, by the desires of her that had Victoria unto name, by Venus' fillet, and the golden pleasures of her game. Break loose, I say, and trudge with hasty foot out of your den. Hunt and pursue, bestir yourselves to seek Fortunio out. Forsake with speed the stinking fog of that your ugly fen. Possess and chase him. See that you return no more again, till you have brought him down and humbled him, if he be stout. Drive him with your tormenting gnaw, the city round about. Go make his bed of thistles, and seat his and seat of pricking thorn, until you bring him hither unto that is forlorn.
Have you done, Medusa?
Now must I stick a needle in his heart, and prick him with the point before we part.
I pray you, prick him well.
If that I strike the needle through, the gentleman will die.
Then spare him, good Medusa, touch him tenderly.
Here they throw their candles into the tomb where Crackstone lieth.
Now have I done. Follow, and throw your tapers out of hand into this tomb that, as you see, hard by us here doth stand. Set fire unto their feet, and toast the corses of the dead, that long have slept within this place since they were buried.
But will this make him come and then submit himself to me?
Mistress, it will, and you the event thereof shall shortly see.
Crackstone riseth out of the tomb with one candle in his mouth, and in each hand one. The women and the pedant fly, crying,
"The devil! The devil!"
Thank you. The women let fall the image, and Crackstone taketh it up.
All is mine. All is mine. Devils wore smocks in this latter time. Such sights as among the bones of the dead in the tomb I have seen would have made any man but myself out of his wits to have been. Good Lord, once methought I saw my grandam trot round me in her grey petticoat and her red cap. Never since I was born was I taken in such a trap. Another time, methought I saw the souls of all them that died for love cry out upon Lady Vengeance, one that was such a fair woman as nothing could move. Little Cuprit himself in the bottom of hell cursed fair Lady Pilcher for burning his skin with a lamprel. This conjugation put me in terrible fear. If it had continued longer, termagant, rawhead, roast meat, and eat bread, and all the armies of devils had been there. What's this? Somewhat I perceive they have let fall for haste an image in wax, very prettily cast. Fortunio is written in the forehead of the same, and jump upon his belly, Victoria's name. This falleth out very well for me. I'll send this to Fedele, that he and Fortunio the same may see. This will make them to hate her wonderfully. Then shall I have her in spite of the pie. What have we here? A needle in his heart, and names of Ogrem writ about it with Marjorie's art. Netabor, Temptator, Vigilator, and Buffon. They come, they come, they come. 'Tis time to be gone.
And he runs away before the re-entrance of other people, but we'll stop there. Yes, suddenly so much action. So there's various agents here watching Victoria's movements to try and look for an inn. Pedant. I should just point out that having just had a quick look around, I keep calling him the Pedant, but his name is probably Pedante. Should have an E on the end. So there's an error that's crept into the formatting of this document. Let's remove E's from the end of things. Sometimes it just goes that little bit too far. Pedante is keeping an eye on Victoria. Crackstone's got caught behind this monument, keeping an eye on things, and Victoria has come out with Medusa to do the love spell that we had in the previous act, and they throw burning flames at Crackstone, who stands up holding these candles, one in his mouth and one in either hand, and they run off terrified. The bit of magic they're using there, the image of Fortunio, he's going to try and split Fedele, Fortunio, and their love for Victoria. and he's going to try and step in himself. So yeah, all the things happening at the same time, with some stalky energy. But hey, the tone is hopefully not going in that sort of direction. But yeah, we've got people dressed as nuns. We've got fake rituals. I'm assuming the whole bouffon must be a some of these terms are deliberately there for comic effect. How seriously is Medusa's taking this? Is this real, or is this all is this all a con? Where are we placing Medusa in this? I have so many thoughts. Let's hopefully other people will have thoughts as well. I'll go to Francis first, then Alan, then Sarah.
Medusa's quite the showman. I'm not sure what sex Medusa is, but anyway, because he or she keeps her audience on tenterhooks. It's like, are you done now? Oh no, I've still got this other thing I've got to do, and then it's okay. You done now? No, still got this one other thing to do. So that, yeah, I mean that you could get a lot of mileage out of that on stage, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just because you have showmanship doesn't mean you can't also summon powerful magical forces. Yeah. So it could be both, but it's an interesting question where that's should be placed in the production. She's down as an enchantress, so I'm assuming that it is gendered that way. Alan?
I must admit, with the text we've had from Medusa today takes me back more to my thought from yesterday that Esme Weatherwax would be a possible role model. But the other one, with this sequence with Crackstone and the tune being chased off by the ladies, struck me as a cross between Dave Allen and Benny Hill.
Though I'd have to disagree. It's clearly Nanny Og. Sarah?
I think the joy of this is that you could play her either way. I mean, from the previous scene, we know that she's definitely capable of doing the whole, silver-tongued conman act. So the temptation is to play it as if she knows exactly what she's doing, and the whole thing is a great big show and she's putting on a show. But it's so brilliant. It's like it goes on for so long, and there's just so many brilliant things. And the fact that she's playing with the language the way that Crackstone himself was earlier, with all the ridiculously fabulous fake Latin, I think there's actually scope for her taking it very serious. I think it would be kind of funnier in a way if she took it all really, really seriously.
Well, yeah, because she's got an audience who are expecting things from her. Come on, hurry up. Is it done yet? So if she's just getting annoyed at these people, just let me do my job, please.
Yes, exactly. Let me gather and focus.
Yeah. Stephen, then Eric.
Is the pedant mocking when she does this sort of list, which includes Buffon, but then it goes Atamanus, Sophie, Turk, Great Cham. These are all kind of theatrical puffers, aren't they? They're kind of, big theatrical figures. And then Robin Goodfellow and Hobgoblin. You could read that. You don't have to read it like that, but you can read that as mocking, because it's kind of an aside, isn't it? He's sort of out of the way at this point.
Yes, and also the Pedante's position here, is he's not a happy bunny about what's going on. This is going against his instructions and his hopes and dreams. I'll go to Eric, then Francis.
I was going to say that there's a part of me thinking that the ritual is half made up and half sort of not. Just because she keeps going, like, she actually talked about, yes, and now I must perform the Holy Cross, and then you pray to Venus and all that stuff. And then the whole business with, now I must stick a needle in his heart. But then Attilia goes, I pray you prick him well. And then you kind of see that Medusa goes, okay, basically stand back. I need space to work. If I strike the needle through, the gentleman will die. Walk away. It's just like sort of this exaggeration kind of I have something very dangerous here, kind of voodoo business going on.
It might be that actually all she needs to do is get the thing and go, gah, and that's literally the only necessary part of the ritual, and actually that's the only, everything else is showmanship just to make sure that the fee is bigger, because I don't know how well this kind of work pays. I don't know what the economics on being an enchantress is. Francis, then Aliki.
Yeah, to come back to Stephen's point, when I was reading Pedante, I saw those incantations that he was saying more as sort of warding off these devils and hobgoblins that Medusa is conjuring up, because I think he's quite superstitious and fearful of the dark arts.
Aliki.
So I'm really interested in this list of names that mixes up real people like the Great Khan with hobgoblins, with the Virgin herself, with just kind of just great big kind of folklore and reality free-for-all. And I guess we hear Pedante, but they don't. Is that right?
Yes, it's both Pedante and Crackstone as well. I mean, I love Crackstone's line of just going, "I'm never getting out of here." These people keep turning up. So yeah, they're clearly popping up, doing asides, and from wherever they're hidden.
Brilliantly fun on stage, as Francis said at the beginning. I'm also fascinated by the rhyme scheme, which keeps going from couplets to ABAB. And quite strictly, I think. Let's don't have anything to say about it. Just it's there.
Yeah, no observations are as well as comment are absolutely cool. Eric,
I'm just wondering whether, like, every time she does, Medusa does something like, I know it's sort of, I conjure you, and then that kind of thing, and then like holds out her hand for another coin and continues, adding to the meter kind of thing.
Yeah, that's always It's always the question as well. How much business do we perhaps want to? Does the scene potentially have room for, depending on production and actor choices as well? So this feels like there's a lot of room for business here. I mean, how much sneaking around could Crackstone be doing? How much sneaking around could Pedante be doing? Are people suddenly turning around, hearing a noise? There's huge potential for additions extra to the actual text. Any additional thoughts before the scene continues? Emma?
Yeah, just to add to that, having read Medusa just then, just want to say how amazingly written it is, how much movement and sound is in the text. I just found that as I was reading it, it was moving my voice up and down and all around for me. And I even found my hands going places without even thinking about it. That's how powerful and just full of extravagance and movement the language is. I thought it was wonderful. And I think... I definitely think a lot of the comedy would come from the fact that Medusa is so into it. For her, it's all about the process, whereas in contrast, the ladies, they just want a quick fix. They want the finished product, but for her, it's all about the process. And that contrast is the comedy, I think.
Presently thy breast be set on fire, and all thy bowels boil with hot desire. Have you felt your bowels hot with desire? Depends really what you ate the night before. Eric.
I was just going to say, I love the stage direction. Crackstone rises out of the tomb with one candle in his mouth, and each and one, like, how long did it take them to work that one out?
Well, I say that's the trick. I mean, it's the question, because the stage direction they throw their candles into the tomb is said a bit earlier than probably it happens, because the dialogue that follows suggests that they then do it. So it's a question of how quickly the turnaround is. Presumably Crackstone has got identical candles on standby already in his hand and in his mouth, so that the candles just go over his head, set fire to the scenery, and he can leap up. I mean, remember, these are the good old days when you didn't have health and safety. Other thoughts? The scene isn't over, remember. These acts are pretty much one continuous unit of action, just flowing into others. So we have more. We have more to come. Let's dive into it then. Act 2, Scene 3, and as it's noted here, Scene 4, they follow rapidly on from each other. So Crackstone was on stage a moment ago. He's just run away, having heard that people are coming back on. And we have the return of Victoria and her servant Attilia.
In such a fear rising of the spirits, we all were cast. that being scared we lost our way, an image too at last. I marvel where Medusa is.
Oh, she took to her heels, and time, I trow, for all the world methought did run on wheels.
Death, this enchanting takes no place. Go seek Fortunio straight, and tell him that to speak with him his pleasure I do wait. A word or two will serve my turn. Go seek him out of hand.
Where shall I seek him? For I know not where his house doth stand.
By the piazza, there I am sure that thou shalt see him walk, spending the time with one or other of his friends in talk.
I go.
And exit Attilia. Enter, as we go into Act 2, Scene 4, enter Fedele whispering with Pedante.
I was so troubled in my mind with fright of sudden fear, and yet I feel my sinews shake and tremble everywhere. Alas, look, where Fedele comes. I cannot scape unseen. He is importunate. I know not how to rid me of him clean.
Oh, cursed dames, their love is like a flame, quivering in the air between two blasts of wind, born here and there by either of the same, yet properly to none of both inclined. Hate and disdain is painted in their eyes, deceit and treason in their bosom lies. Their promises are made of brittle glass, ground with a fill-up to the finest dust. Their thoughts as streaming rivers swiftly pass. Their words are oil, and yet they gather rust. Their virtues mount like billows to the sky and vanish straight out of the gazer's eyes. True are they, never found but in untruth, constant in naught but in inconstancy, the common foes of weal and floods of ruth, rough, devouring cankers of man's liberty. Here doth the stain of modesty abide, the shroudingly desires herself to hide, and shroudingly desires herself to hide. But get thee straight to Sir Fortunio. Will him to come and speak a word with me. Haste and post-haste, with speed, see that thou go, that he this treachery may quickly see. Meanwhile, on her, whose face begins to glow, the burden of my breast I mean to throw.
Then take you this image of wax that you see. Crackstone the captain delivered it to me, being his turn, as he said, for to watch this night, and breaking up sentinel when it began to be light. This image, he told me, in the street he found, lying hard by the chapel upon the ground. This is the same that was made to enchant Fortunio. Behold it and see whether I say truth or no.
He ploughs the seas and fishes in the land and loses all the labour of them both. He fondly rears his fortress on the sand, that builds his trust upon a woman's troth. But get thee hence about thy business, that I may talk with this my good mistress.
Addio.
Well met, good Sir Fedele. What's the cause of these your troubled looks that I behold? What reign is threatened by these stormy flaws, which by your gait and gesture you unfold? Is love the spark that kindles all this fire, or do you lack the fruit of your desire?
The cause that sets my gestures out of frame is in yourself, if you do search the same.
And why, good sir?
What make you here so early in the street?
My longing thoughts did prophesy that here I should you meet.
Not me, but Sir Fortunio. You know this, I am sure.
And shows her the image.
And what by magic you have done this favour to procure. I never thought so fair dame had been so foul within, but sith continued service had no force thy grace to win. Be sure, unthankful wretch, perjured and most disloyal dame, I will not rest before I be revenged of the same. This to Fortunio presently I purpose shall be shown, and open bruit of thy reproach throughout the city blown. All that in Naples dwell this day shall wonder at this deed, and every wounding tongue shall make thine honour now to bleed. Myself will help to tear the heart out of thy body quick, and give thy crimson-coloured blood unto the dogs to lick. So lively will I blaze thee out to every gazer's eye, that though thy carcass rot and waste, thy shame shall never die. As busy will I be to plague thee more than is expressed, as thou wast cunning to deceive the man that loved thee best.
I think you are disposed to jest and make some trial here. How trembly you can tread aloft to thunder in mine ear. For when I slide into myself and there examine well what I have done, I find I never from Fedele fell. And yet I see your heart still works, by which I do suspect some sycophants would make you your Victoria to reject. But patience is a virtue, as the worthiest wits do say. My love to you deserves not that you uttered here this day.
Yes, that, and more. In these no truth, love, faith, nor loyalty, but lies, dissembling, falsehood, hate, sin, shame, and sorcery. Bestir thyself, enchant, and conjure now, and do the worst. The day thou knew'st us both shall shortly be by thee accursed.
I am not privy unto this, nor know, Fortunio. Poor Victoria, thou art caught. Alas, what shall I do? Now counsel me, Attilia. Attilia is not here. Where be my gallants now? Will not Crackstone appear? And now is the time for thee, Crackstone, my heart to gain. Oh, save my life, and him dispatch that doth mine honour stain. Do this, and then I will be thine, and listen to thy suit. But till that I may speak with him, 'tis best that I be mute. Farewell, sir. Be not rash, but judge I cannot answer much. More you shall know when time hath tried my truth by perfect touch. Adieu.
And exit Victoria.
A diavola. As I have known thee, so shall Sir Fortunio know thee straight, for whom I sent, and here he comes, whose coming I do wait.
And before we have the entrance of Fortunio, I'm really liking that aside moment of, oh, I am caught. What do you think, Attilia? Damn, no one's here. Where's a servant to talk to when you need them? Crackstone, are you? No, you're not here either. All the people who are normally stalking me are just not available. It's a slightly interesting series of motivations in terms of, she's not interested in Fedele, and she is interested in Fortunio, but she's still, trying to. I'm slightly confused as to precisely how these motivations is functioning. But how's everyone feeling in the room? Relatively briefly on this one. Briony, then Sarah.
I think she's definitely playing every single angle on this. She's not outright told Fedele that she's over him. She's refusing to admit to him that she even knows Fortunio. And then this whole bit where she's sort of kind of scheming to herself that actually maybe Crackstone, if he can get her out of this, she'll even consider him at this point. So I think she's really hedged her bets.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Sarah.
I think that's one way of looking at it. I also think she might be panicking, to be honest. I think there might be an element that she's just like, oh my God, what do I do here? And I'm also wondering, I mean, this is probably completely wrong. And I, as usual, I haven't read ahead, so I don't know. But are we absolutely certain that she's not still holding a bit of a candle for Fedele as well? Because I'm wondering if this kind of like she seems to be quite confused, and then chucking the letter out of the window. I wonder if there is just kind of this thing of like, well, oh yeah, Fortunio, he's the love of my life now. But she did clearly, from yesterday, we know that she did love Fedele, or she claimed that she loved him before he went away to Spain. So I don't know, maybe there's maybe there's a bit of genuine ambivalence here. Maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe she just wants all the people to be around her all the time, and that's something. I don't know. There does seem to be some sort of interesting game playing perhaps going on here that I'm finding interesting. Eric.
Well, there is a moment where she goes, what was it? I find I never from Fedele fell, and like some sycophants would make you your Victoria to reject, which is like, it sounds kind of like, well, you've never actually, your love has never wavered, although you were away kind of, before this.
And of course, we've had Fedele coming in here with this massive speech, because he's obviously not in a good mood, having been handed this image and things. So he's, shall we say, we're not catching Fedele at his best self. But that doesn't necessarily change what we think about what he says. Tamara.
Following on what Sarah said, first of all, I am still confused. But secondly, is it possible that this is the case of he's rejecting me? Ooh. Like that episode in The Simpsons with Milhouse suddenly becoming rude to Lisa and suddenly she's attracted to him.
Negging.
Thoughts in the room on that one? We may get more data on this, by the way. So, but it's a really interesting question about why people are doing things at specific times. Eric.
I'm just wondering why she says, I'm not privy unto this nor know Fortunio, and then suddenly she's all like, well, actually, like before this, she was trying to get Fortunio's attention, basically.
Yeah, well, she's saying to him, to Fedele, that I don't know who Fortunio is. The fact that she has been caught red-handed with a picture of presumably with her handwriting on it it's like the poster on the wall. No, I've no idea who. I've never heard of this particular person. No, I don't have a shrine at the bottom of my bed. No, these things do not happen. Sarah.
Like Tamara, I am still slightly confused, clearly. And clearly I'm not the only person who is, if not confused, then at least hedging the bit.
What your confusion is. Is your confusion just about the motivations or confusion about what is actually happening?
No, my confusion is about the motivations. But in spite of that, I do feel like I'm in the hands of a playwright who knows what they're doing. Like, even though I'm confused about, what is she doing here? What's he doing? Like, it's a kind of pleasurable confusion because I feel like I'm in good hands and that this is all going to work out, and that I will realise what's going on and that the characterizations will unfold in a way that makes sense by the end of it, which I have to say isn't always the case. I don't always feel that level of confidence when I'm reading. So, but I do hear.
We have said with Victoria from the beginning that maybe there's some interesting psychodrama going on here, and that does. So, in the sense, there is a consistency to what's going on here. This isn't a sudden volte-face that we've encountered. Let's finish the act. It's a relatively short hop, skip, and a jump to the end of the act. So, Victoria has left. Fedele is still on stage. Enter Fortunio with Pedante.
Best mora damnosa, pray let us away, for yonder, my master, your coming doth stay.
Sir Fedele, God save you.
And you, Sir Fortunio, I was so bold to charge my man unto your house to go. Matters of weight I have to you, of friendship to impart.
My leisure serves, and I will stand to hear with all my heart.
Not so, but sith it asketh time, if you will take the pain to walk with me unto my house, there will I tell you plain both what I saw and heard of late, which toucheth you so near that you will give me thanks, I know, when you the matter hear.
Go when you please. I'll bear you company.
And next line of dialogue, please.
Pedant, you may walk abroad till dinner draweth nigh.
And then exeunt Fedele and Fortunio, arm in arm.
With a good will, sir. That's the thing I desire. But if I meet not Attilia, the fat is in the fire. For my master's sake, I began to love her in jest, and may chance to swallow a gudgeon in earnest. For love is a fox, he beginneth at first by dalliance and play, then increaseth his gettings every day.
And enter Attilia. Pedant continues.
You're muted, Francis.
I thought that was it.
No, Attilia is entering, and you have a few more lines.
Oh, sorry. O Deus adunix, nostris sua numina votis. Behold, I beseech you, my delicate mistress.
I'll prove you that.
I am so terebinthinol, and play such reeks when I come to the field, that mine enemies choose rather to murder themselves than to yield. Whereby their damned souls have so pestered all hell, there's no room left for women to dwell. Thus, being thrust out of the place that is theirs by right, they are constrained into heaven to take their flight.
I'll confess that this benefit is so great that my tongue is not able your praise to repeat.
Besides that, I have as good luck as any man of my life to find favour and friendship in gentlewomen's eyes. I thank them, they flout me to my face, when no other they mock. This was my father's craft, for he ever made my mother to wrap me in her smock. Now, give me good luck and throw me into the seas, where women take a pitch.
Truth, sir. But will you go to my mistress with me?
With an almond heart, my girl, I will follow thee.
And they exeunt, second act being ended, the consort soundeth again. I'm wondering about the speech prefixes there, that there might be an error in our text, because there are definitely features there that are very Crackstony, but it would make more sense if that was all the Pedante still. There is potentially a confusion here because Pedante and Crackstone is potentially disguised as Pedante, so there might be something else going on. But what Pedante talks about of having pretended to be in love with her and now is actually in love with her, that would all make sense for that whole end of that scene to be Pedante. I see a potential error there, which I can check up on, and hopefully will not be replicated later on, in especially this session. But yes, the person who was only pretending to be wooing and interested in ladies is now actually interested. Oh no, shock horror. He's actually quite keen. Yes. So all sorts of interesting things, and the two chaps of Fortunio and Fedele, they've gone off for a chinwag. They're besties now, arm in arm they go, Morecambe and Wise style, you know.
Ripping misogyny as they go.
Yep, absolutely. There is that whole thing, isn't it? There's a little uncomfortable, but. Again, it all depends on where the play goes in the end, because the play is certainly giving us plenty of meat on both sides to play with. Any thoughts about Act 2 generally, while we try and resolve this error, potential error at the end of the scene, for thoughts? Otherwise, we will prepare to crack on with Act 3. Anyone want to leap in so I can look down at a book? Briony.
Just thinking, it's a bit of a bland start for Fortunio, because have we seen him yet before this?
Yes, I think it was.
Or have we? But yeah, he's
Right at the beginning.
Mm.
It was a while ago, though.
It was a while ago, yeah.
It was a bit of a nun scene. It was just like, yeah, I'll come with you. Yeah, sure, let's go.
At least we've seen him. I mean, we haven't even seen some of them yet. I mean, we haven't. What was the name of the one who's in love with Fedele?
Oh, is that Virginia?
Virginia?
She, I mean, I don't know. Is she like her indoors? Is she just never gonna?
We've got someone down to read her, so she will appear.
Okay, she will appear.
She will appear. She is a real person.
Imminently.
She's in the next scene. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. There we go. Excellent.
Hopefully, it'll be worth the wait then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I'm sure it's going to be
firecracker.
fab. But yeah, she's in. She's keen on Fedele, I think. So you know, we've got various strung out love interests, unreciprocated in all of their instances so far. Will they be reciprocated in the end, or will everyone end up in a messy, unhappy compromise?
Is this a Lily play?
Who can tell? It's pre-Lily, so you know, maybe he's picking up on something, and later on. Okay, I haven't resolved the question of speech designations yet, but I will endeavour to do that before the end of the session. So I suggest we go on to Act 3. So there's a bit of a swap round of various people. We have a different Pedante, we have a different Crackstone, and I think everybody else remains the same. I could be wrong on that front. So anyway, Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Mistress Virginia with Pamphilia, her maid.
Mistress, I may and will once more go seek him, if you please, although I fear his answer will return you little ease. What though he loved you first? You see his suit falls to the ground, and by this small pursuit think you are lost as good lost as found? He stoopeth to Victoria's lure, but she hath cast him off. He bows and creeps to her. She turns his labour to a scoff.
How canst thou tell?
Even yesterday I heard it of a maid.
If it be so, then is he justly plagued from above, and feels that hell of mind which for all forsaken ghosts do prove. Yet can I not believe it, Pamphilia, before I see and gather by his answer that he hath forsaken me. Therefore, go out to seek him again.
Mistress, it shall not need.
And enter Fedele.
Lo, where he walks, as sad as though his heart within did bleed.
Step to him straight.
Master Fedele, if you knew as well to love, and her that loves you to relieve, as you are skilful in deceit to dwell, and to torment whom you should never grieve, happy were she that bears you in her breast, happy were you of such a pearl possessed.
What meaneth this?
Talk with my mistress, sir, and you shall know.
Then to thy mistress, Pamphilia, I go. Mistress Virginia, what's the cause, I pray, that you did send of late to seek me out? If you have anything to me to say, speak, that I may resolve you of the doubt.
Fedele, now behold thy cruelty. Her voice is stopped, and doth the sorrow die.
I never thought Fedele to have found your show of faith and promises forgot, your liking dead and buried in the ground. Myself cast off as though you knew me not. To love in jest and turn it to a scorn is not the nature of a gentle born.
Mistress, I love you as I did before, as dearly as the dearest friend you have, or as a brother. Would you any more? Command of me what courtesy may crave. If fancy's lurking poison you remove, and be not shipped in seas of raging love, whose great companions are discord and wrath, flattery, deceit, treason, and cruelty, heaviness of mind, grief, penury, and scathe, unrest, suspicion, fear, and jealousy, consuming hunger, and an endless thirst, a living death, life dying with the first.
Ah, Pamphilia, I find thy words are true. The more in liking I did think him bound. The looser he and hunteth after new, his talk was nothing but an empty sound. Those virtues now I see he doth despise, that once did paint my picture in his eyes. If justice palace stand above the skies, and angry gods do look into our life, some plague, no doubt, for him they will devise, and scourge him with some sort of storm of bitter strife, although he vaunted conquest here a while, 'tis not praiseworthy a woman to beguile. Come, Pamphilia, I'll learn to set him alight, that so dissembles with a double tongue, help to convey me straight out of his sight, whose wandering choice hath done me double wrong. Farewell, sir, as we met, we mean to part.
His greeting answers unto his desert.
And exeunt Virginia and Pamphilia, leaving Fedele.
So quickly gone. Farewell, all women, for Victoria's sake, and on them all for her. Revenge I mean to take. Busy they are with pen to write our vices in our face, but negligent to know the blemish of their own disgrace. Gestures and looks in readiness at their command they have, mirth, sorrow, fear, hope, and what other passion you can crave. Hence riseth every cloud in love, this breedeth all the strife. Snares to our feet, devouring cankers, these are unto life.
Act 3, Scene 2. Enter Pedante with the robe on his arm.
Ridete corda qui semper eberat eadem. I cannot abide, sir, to harp still upon one string. It is too cuckoo-like, they say, one song continually to sing. It were good for you to learn quickly in what clef you should take your part, and be speedily revenged on her that strikes such a dagger to your heart. Oh, they are full of deceit, cogging, flattery, foisting, twitter-twatter, and I know not what. This genus demonstratium is such a bottomless sea you will never have done if you had entered into that. The dispraise of woman is so great that without doubt all the tongues in the world are not able to set it out. 'Tis one of my precepts, to be short and sharp in word and blow. When they anger you, bid the devil take them all, and make no more ado.
Wast thou so near, Pedant?
I heard you well enough. I think I must bring you to Copiererum again for change of stuff. Leave these exclamations and crying out upon women now. If you look well to yourself, the fault is in you. You would needs love, though in your last lecture among your sentantiae, similitudinous and decende floris, I made you write this in your paper book, Littore quod concae tot sunt in amore dolores.
Thou didst indeed, Pedant, and I have not it forgot.
Now you find it by proof, I believe you will not. But let this matter pass, and tell me, sir, how with Fortunio you speed? Do you touch him so near that his heart did bleed?
Oh no, for in Victoria he hath such confidence that he excuseth her, and now mistrusteth my pretence.
What remedy then?
I know not, for he saith, except that I can plainly prove that other men beside himself Victoria doth love, he was and is and will be hers, so long as he doth live.
Occidit in puncto, quod non contingit in anno. Very good counsel, for this I can give. Do you see this brave robe?
I do, very well.
But why I have brought it, you cannot tell.
No, trust me.
Did not I tell you that for your sake I began to curry favor with Victoria's maid?
Indeed, Pedant, I remember such a thing you said.
She took order this very day with me, that disguised on this manner, so as by and by you shall see. Even thus, sir, behold, I should come this night, disguised that no man might know me by sight, and begging alms at the door, she would let me in straight, and make me a possessed for my labor, that so well can wait. We shall be as merry as cup and can, whence I am once there.
What's this to me?
Tush, take you no care. Look that some pretty corner by you may be espied, where you and Fortunio yourselves may hide. Be both of you here about the midst of the night, that when I come out, both of you of me may have a sight. I at departure would bid Victoria farewell. Commend my entertainment, and say it doth excel. This will make him to think as soon as I am gone, that Victoria loveth not him alone.
Oh, excellent.
See what an old fox his rotten rag shrouds. I can play the knave and convey it in the clouds. I hear you, sir.
What sayest thou?
Hold fast, Master Fortunio, till I be out of reach, lest he cut me in pieces when he hears me preach.
Fear not, be sure he shall not stir before I see thee gone. Farewell, and thanks to finish this, I will to him anon.
And exit Fedele.
Adieu, sir. If Apollo, the very brother of Diana and Jupiter's son, for the love of a lady that was hard to be won, thought it no shame in a shepherd's weed himself to debase, the sooner to speed. Should I, that am not worthy to bear out Apollo's chamber pot, think any scorn that these rascally rags by me should be worn, so long as I do it, my suit fall to move, and further my master with my slavering love, quod exemplo fit iore fieri putant, till he doth say, whose authority is a privilege to follow this way. Therefore, God Apollo, whose example I take, vouchsafe to stay the course of thy chariot a while, for my sake. Suffer not thy horses to hasten the day, but prolong the night, as when Jupiter thy father with Alcmena lay. Peradventure, I may get a young Hercules as well as he, but for very sin and shame too, so it should be. If I speed well this day, I will shut up my school door every year. It shall be festival to my scholars to make good cheer. They shall play if they will from morning to night. During that time, they shall not be constrained to come in my sight. This will be cake and pudding to them, thou art assuredly, and care not how little they take for their money. Ah, begging pedante, I a begging I go.
And off he goes begging, but we're just going to pause there to take in this begging moment. So Pedante is pretending to be a beggar, off to do that action. Just first impressions. We have figured out what went wrong at the end of Act 3. That's something we're probably going to have to sort out tomorrow. But we'll go into that towards the end of the session. Let's just get more into the action of Act 3. We've met Virginia. We've met her maid Pamphilia. Yes, thoughts from the room about what's going on, confusions, hopes, dreams. Where are we? Has the slight confusion at the end of Act 3 completely thrown your sense of attention as to what the hell's going on? Eric?
It was interesting seeing Virginia and Pamphilia sort of, it's like, yeah, you talk to him, sort of, although she, like, Virginia has the direct, is directly interested in Fedele. She kind of pushes Pamphilia to talk to him because she either doesn't want to deal with him, or it's for sort of that, I don't know, childhood / teenagehood energy of like, I don't want to talk to my crush kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Other thoughts, Alan?
I'm just getting the vibe from this that the two maids, Attilia and Pamphilia, are actually possibly retired nurses. In other words, they're older than their principals, because they both seem to be treated as sources of sage advice rather than being younger girls.
Mm-hmm. Possibly, yes. Thoughts on the room on other things as well. Other thoughts? Emma?
It feels like it's taken a little bit of a turn because so several of the kind of key lovers in this have now vowed revenge and kind of darker ideas. I'm trying to find exactly where it is now, but it's in the scenes that we've just read, and Fedele saying, vowing revenge on all women for Victoria's sake. So it has the potential to be quite dark, but I suppose because it's a comedy, you can keep it light. But yeah, if it wasn't a comedy, it'd be quite tragic, the things that they're planning.
Yes, it's sort of introducing us to a further complication to the overall plotting here. There's more potential action and revenge and turnarounds and thwartedness going on, and And say we've got Pedante with this plan. Dan, where do you feel this plan is going?
Somehow I think it's going to fall on his face. He's going to fall on his face. I haven't read ahead, so we will see.
Yes, always one of those questions as to where it's going to be going, which we do not necessarily know yet. Other thoughts, Eric?
To go back to Virginia, just like that last few lines of farewell, sir, that kind of thing feels very talk to the hand. Like, I'm not going to deal with you anymore.
Yes. Okay. We have got to the point where we have the begging at the gate. Let's see how well this goes for Pedante. So at the gate house, as it were, of Victoria's. At Virginia's gate, rather. So door number 1, please. Go and beg Pedante.
TikTok, fate una limousina a un poverino.
What bold
Pamphilia comes to the door.
What bold beggar have we at the gate? Art thou not ashamed to go begging so late?
No, good mistress, it is no shame at all, but the greatest honour that unto a man may fall. For an alms is a gift, and a gift is a token of reverence, I trow. And reverence is what our superiors we know. Thus I am being presented of all men with alms, as you see, reverenced of all men of force I must be.
For reasoning so deeply, no alms shall you have, because I will not honour such a beggarly knave.
And exit Pamphilia.
Farewell and be hanged. There I was overreached with a crooked measure. Wit brought at this rate is an excellent treasure. Beginnings are hard, this proverb is old. Therefore, at some other body's door, I mean to be bold. Tic-toc, fate limousina, popule mei benedetti.
And this is him begging at Victoria's gate.
Che Dio vaiutera nelle vostre tribulazioni. Tic-toc chi la Dio over la fare dire. Dia buono morte non potrà morire.
And enter Crackstone out of Victoria's house.
What sturdy knave have we here in the street to beg at this time of the night? Sirrah, 'tis not meet. Hence, sirrah, I advise you, lest I give you a souse, or take thee by the heels and throw thee over the house.
Good master, beat not the poor when they make their moan. 'Tis not long since your courage was as cold as a stone.
What saucy knave! Methinks he doth prate. Dost thou know to whom thou speakest, or at whose gate?
No, good master, be good to me, I beseech you, for I have done. I were best to be quiet till he be gone.
We have many good startups made here in this city for publishing these vargary knaves that go up and down idly. See how he escaped and shrinketh aside. My looks are too big for him to abide. 'Tis a wonder to see how they crouch wheresoever I come. If I stand, they stoop. If I speak, they are dumb. Mistress Victaragantly hath sent for me her chaplain against Fedele to be. If I kill him for her sake and put him to shame, he hath promised me her love to reward the same.
Oh, traditora.
How am I bound to Mars, that when my stomach so swells that I am driven out to lay my heart in my hose, he sews up my gorget with a slaughter of my foes? I'll go put on my horse litter and the rest of mine armour straight, and here about the house for him will I wait. If Every night she saith he comes sneaking hereby. But if he come now, I will handle him trimly.
And exit Crackstone.
Oh, Goodman Goose, provide you and arm you as well as you can. Lay about you and play the proper man. In tempore veni, I came hither in the nick. My master shall speedily hear of this trick. Yet will I go forward with my business as I decreed, and try how well of my purpose I am like to speed. Tick-tock, una limusina al poveretto, date signora per all'amor di Dio.
Who is there?
Your charity, good mistress.
Enter and take it.
God reward your good mistress. I will not forsake it.
And Pedante, having gained access to the house, as he promised earlier that he would manage to do to Fedele, the third act being done, a consort sounds a solemn dump. And thus ends that act. So the whole point of this exercise is to gain entry to the house. It's one of the things that Pedante has been trying to do. He's been trying to get Attilia on his side and failed miserably, and so he's disguising himself as a beggar for various reasons. So just to go back briefly, I'm just going to mention it now. So the bit of text at the end of Act 2 that we were confused about, there was a scenette with the Pedante talking with Antilia, presumably not getting anywhere. Then he exited, and then Crackstone comes in and is more successful with Attilia, and that's the bit we caught at the end of that sequence. So there was basically 2 pages missing, and we're going to have to do them tomorrow at the beginning of the session. Hopefully, though there may be some exposition that relates to what's going on here, I don't think there's actually any very specific plot points that matters. So I don't think actually you've missed anything. Relax. What's going on here is just further complication of stuff we've already had. If you're confused, it's just because it's slightly confusing. I think we'll find out tomorrow. So what we're going to do is actually we will in a moment crack on into Act 4 a little bit to give us a bit more room for manoeuvre tomorrow. My schedule has obviously just gone horribly to pot. This has very rarely happened, I have to say. We almost didn't do more of this play because I discovered that we didn't have the beginning and the ending. So I just didn't think to check that we didn't have bits in the middle as well. So yeah, thoughts about this begging motif, this continuation of trying to get access to Victoria, and in relationship with what Fedele and Fortunio may have been talking about earlier. It does seem like the plotting here seems a bit more confused, or at least the communication of plot is a bit more confused. I have been looking at a synopsis as I've been going along, which hasn't helped me. There's a lot of little wheels and manoeuvrings in place. So questions, thoughts, what's confusing you at the moment? Because I think it's important we air our confusions, even if we don't fully get the answers until tomorrow. Briony.
I don't really understand why. I know that he wants to get into a house, but I'm not really sure what his game plan is therein.
I think it's about when he exits in a very demonstrative way. Fortunio will see that she's interested in other people. I think it's further to so when Fedele said, "Oh, we're now best mates," and walked off earlier, actually he's still trying to make him think that he's being disinterested, as it were. So I think that's the idea: is to show her entertaining men at night.
Yeah.
I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, and seriously, if I am wrong, there are other opinions, thoughts. Aliki.
That's how I read it too. I mean, there's a play I won't mention in which something similar is done. You say goodbye to the maid really loudly with her mistress's name, right?
So yes, but there is something slightly odd about that, following on from the previous scene with Fedele and Fortunio going, well, we don't care about her now, kind of exiting. It's the motivational element of it seems slightly odd. All the bits are here. It's just some of the
I
plotting seems
wonder
a
how
bit
much
odd.
more sense this would make if we were all playing one person throughout and that kind of thing, whether, you would say, oh, it's that guy again in a cloak doing this. And that would help it. But I don't know how an audience was supposed to follow this, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know how much of an apparent problem it is with an audience. It's the motivations that are the problem for me about why these certain incidents are happening. That's sort of where I'm struggling. It's not the things that are happening that are the problem. It's why certain things are happening at this juncture. If this Pedante bit was happening slightly earlier in the play, it would make a lot more sense, because that's part of his trying to split up the Fortunio's interest in Victoria. At this point in the play, it doesn't quite make sense. And don't worry, it's not misplaced. I did check that when I started getting confused. So yeah, any other thoughts, confusions, issues? Francis, Eric?
Yeah, one thing that struck me was that when Pedante was going begging, he gets pretty short shrift from Pamphilia and Crackstone, and there's a bit of back and forth between Pedante and Pamphilia and Crackstone. But when it comes to Attilia, she's just like, yeah, come on in. It's just so abrupt, and I just hadn't expected that. Given what we've seen of Attilia up until now, I expected a bit more resistance from her.
I'm wondering if it's a rhythmic joke thing. If he comes on and does lengthy spiel and then ends up having arguments, and then the third time, oh no, just come in, okay. That might be a gag possible moment there. Sarah, I'll come to Eric in a second.
It could be as well that bit that we've missed. They have the Pedant and Attilia have a little conversation there, so it could be that maybe he talks her round. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow.
My impression from scanning it is that she just gives him the bum's rush.
Okay.
But that is my impression. I don't know, because now he genuinely sort of likes her, and she's still not interested.
That doesn't help them.
Yeah. But I could be wrong. We'll discover tomorrow when we get even more confused by doing bits out of order. Eric, finally.
I was going to say that maybe it's sort of, because it seems to me that the Pedant is at first sort of in Fortunio's corner and then in Fedele's corner, or is that just me?
No, he was always in Fedelia's corner, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was Fedelia's tutor.
Yeah.
But then he's like sort of where you look, that's some pretty corner by you may have spied where you and Fortunio may yourselves hide. So basically, he's going to be responsible for destroying Victoria's reputation, kind of thing. But then, yeah, it's for Fedele and also kind of, but also for himself, basically. Because Attilia is Victoria's maid, therefore, yeah.
Okay. Any additional thoughts, Dan?
Just reading through the part of the script that we didn't do, just noticing that Pedante fails miserably with Attilia, and then so talks about going off. So when she tells him to scram, he says, "Fine, I'm going to go begging and win my way in."
Yeah. So there is some setting up there as an option. Let's say then Crackstone manages to talk his way into the household with Attilia, which is what we caught the very tail end of. So I don't think we've lost any plot. I don't think we have. So that hopefully we can go over the next two scenes. And I do want to run the next two scenes. I wasn't planning to doing today. I don't know if the doubling is going to work or whether this is all going to go horribly wrong. But hey, it's that kind of session. It's been that kind of week, frankly. So, you know, it's always good to get some occasionally slightly shambolic weeks out of the way. Maybe I can edit this together later and make it look like it was all beautiful and in order, but that's not going to happen, is it? So we're going to quickly rattle into the opening of Act 4 and gather some more information. Act 4, Scene 1, enter Medusa and Pamphilia.
Still me?
Still you.
Yeah. Oh, happy is, I trust, that doctor's soul by whom I learned this famous art, and easily by it my living earned. Oh, that he knew how dear his life and learning was to me. Oh, that he could but for his death my grief and sorrow see.
Medusa, if I did not fear my honour and my name would soon be lost hereby, and turn my credit into shame, I would become thy scholar, but I blush to speak of it.
No, Pamphilia, for such a mistress thou art far unfit. What talk'st thou of thy name and honour likely to be lost by learning of mine art, which should be honoured of the most, and more esteemed than physic?
Why?
That's easy to be proved, for, as by physic's learned skill diseases be removed, so by my cunning every smart that doth afflict the mind is put to chase, for every grief a remedy I find.
And have you any salve for love?
I have.
Whereof is it made?
All of divers things, simple and mixed according to my trade.
Then if for love or money you will grant me my request, let me once by your cunning see my mistress have some rest.
Whom serve you then?
Forsooth, I serve Mistress Virginia.
Yet further, let me crave your name.
My name is Pamphilia.
What's her disease?
Nothing but love.
How fare is she with it?
Sad, sick and sore, with sorrow pinned, and disposed of wit.
Whom loveth she?
Fedele.
And how long hath she been so?
I know not, yet I guess that she sickened a year ago.
What if I help her? Tell me, who shall please me for my pain?
Myself, because unknown to her, I seek her health to gain.
Unloving servant, go thy ways and leave it all to me. But hark thee.
What?
Let me have passage to her lodging free, that when she little thinks thereof, my medicines I may make, by virtue of the which her wounded heart may comfort take. The less she looks for remedy, the more is her delight when 'tis obtained.
Then let's be gone.
Content, for it is night, and yonder comes Fedele with Fortunio, hand in hand. To shun suspect, they shall not see us talking here to stand.
And exit Medusa and Pamphilia, who have spent lots of times explaining who everybody's names is, including their own, even when in theory they don't know each other's name. Act 4, Scene 2, enter Fedele and Fortunio together.
Come, Sir Fortunio, now is the time to put you out of doubt, whether Victoria love you or your dealings do but flout. Here let us shroud ourselves a while, that standing out of sight, we may perceive what lovers haunt Victoria's house by night.
Agreed. This is the fittest time to pass the street, and give her music at her window for a gallant meet.
Whist, for her door begins to creak.
It doth indeed.
Enter Pedant disguised, coming forth of Victoria's house.
I see.
A man, methinks. Oh, let me go.
Stay, sir, be ruled by me.
And a Pedant, either one who wants to leap in first.
O delicate Victoria, so long as I live, for this entertainment great thanks I will give. The remembrance of thy sweetness of this night so well passed will feed me with honey while my life doth last.
Exit Pedant.
A villain! Let me go, Fedele. Let me go, I say. I will revenge this injury before he get away.
Not so, for raising of a tumult in the streets so late, and troubling of the watch that stand armed at every gate?
Out, strumpet, I will make thee now a mirror to this town, appointing stock to every one that passeth up and down.
How will you be revenged?
By sword, and sheathe it in her breast.
Be not too swift to serve her so, I think it were not best.
And why?
Because that if you kill her, then yourself you do defame, discredit her, and put her house and kindred unto shame. Thus you shall ever walk in fear of those you never saw. Besides, her friends will trip at you by danger of the law.
How shall I be revenged then?
Give her a FICO out of hand.
So should I scape, but the revenge in little stead would stand. For she should die, and none should know the villainy she did, but every tongue ere long shall talk of that I have spied. Some other way I will devise.
Do so, for I'll be gone.
And exit Fedele.
And I will see what this Victoria saith to me anon. Who is there within?
And he knocks at her door, and very finally for this session we go into Act 4, Scene 3, enter Victoria and Attilia to Fortunio.
Mistress, behold Fortunio.
I come to him. Oh, welcome, good sir.
Out, hypocrite! No, no. How do you like your other love?
I like of none but you.
Tush, hold your peace. I had as live you told me that it's new. Even now came one out of thy house, who bidding thee farewell, triumphed of thy courtesy, and said it did excel.
Come hither, maid. What have you done? Tell me, why do you weep?
'Tis no matter, mistress. You think I let in my companion when you are asleep? But seeing you have no better confidence in me, pay me my wages, I'll be gone. Your servant no longer will I be. Seeing you go about me so much to disgrace, provide for yourself. I can have more wages in another place.
Peace, peevish fool, I think not so. Yet let me ask, I pray, because to slander me you hear what Fortunio doth say.
I force not what he saith. I know my conscience to be clear.
And so is mine, although so stoutly he reprove me here.
Then had I neither listening ears to hear, nor eyes to see. Sith they fail not, I'll credit them, and give no heed to thee. But trust to it, and look for it, thou shalt repent at last, that ere thou bleedst Fortunio's sight with such a juggling cast.
It booteth not to speak to him, he is in such a heat, but I durst lay my life for Fedele wrought this feat.
It may be so.
Thy falsehood and thy sorcery at length have I perceived, but by thy subtle train no longer will I be deceived.
I said it was Fedele's deed, but Crackstone is too slow to cut him off before this rumour's root begins to grow.
Mistress, I'll seek Crackstone and haste him to the deed, else I perceive that very ill yourself is like to speed.
Do so, until I see Fortunio's angry mood be past. 'Tis best out of his presence to convey myself in haste. Farewell, Sir Fortunio. Think as you find me.
Exeunt Victoria and Attilia.
I will, and revenge it as far as you bind me. Fie, heartless wretch, slothful, and that's more. Yet unrevenged, why did I stay my hand? Why did I not her faithless body gore? Whiles in my power before me she did stand. Why did I not, for to fulfil my vow, do that which none could cover nor allow? Her treason makes my raging thoughts to swell beyond the bounds of all humanity. Her falsehood drives the furies out of hell to practice strange and extreme cruelty. Yet neither rancor's force nor ugly fiend hath scourge enough for such a double friend. But yet, before revenge my fury take, I'll offer service to Virginia, lest every dame hereafter me forsake, when it is known how I used Victoria. Good luck, Medusa, here methinks I see a cunning broker very fit for me.
So the scene is going to get more complicated in a moment with the entrance of Medusa, but we're not going to get that far. But several things now come into focus in terms of the way this is plotted. It's easier for Fedele to turn Fortunio against Victoria if they are made friends. They're made friends because of the picture that happened because of the thing. So even though some of the logic sometimes is a bit odd, I think it in pace and with energy and in a production, I think those questions are the things you think about in the car on the way home, not while you're watching it. And that seems reasonably consistent in that sense. So it's interesting here. This scene is slightly held together simply by Attilia taking umbrage and not actually saying what happened, which seemed like a very straightforward thing to say. We let in a beggar last night. That's who you saw. That's literally all she has to say. Unless something else happened when Pedant came in, but I don't think there's any indication that anything happened there. And then Fortunio, I've written in his final speech there. I've written an understatement of that's a bit much. As a reaction here, I mean, in theory, this should be moderately devastating because in theory, the major sweep here is Victoria really likes Fortunio, and has tried to enchant him. And here he is turning up incredibly angry at her doorstep in a way that she doesn't understand. So this potentially has a lot of oomph to it. I now feel slightly on firmer ground as to what's going on and why it's happening. It's nice to end a session vaguely on that level. Thoughts in the room about what's just happened? I've been talking a lot. I've been waffling as I've been trying to get the show back on the road. Thoughts on the room? You're still allowed to be confused. Angry, annoyed, happy. Where are you at? Eric, then Sarah.
So basically, it's the guys plotting to get the girls and then blaming the girls when things go wrong.
The guys are trying to split the other guys up, and when the other guy gets split up in his mind, then he blames the girls. Yes. Yes. Sarah.
Yeah, it's basically one guy pretending to be the friend of the other guy in order to split him up from the girl that he loves. I think. Yeah, I am a bit confused. I did lose the plot slightly in the middle there. It's not the first time that's happened. But I still stand by what I said earlier. I feel like I'm in good hands. I'm not entirely sure how this is all working out, but I do feel that I'm being moved along by a playwright who knows what they're doing. And I do think that if this was played at pace, I'd really like to do a second look on this one, because I feel if it was played at pace, it would actually be more clear. We'd have more clarity about what everybody's motivations were. Because I mean, for a long time I was thinking, why are those two friends now? And then it suddenly hit me, oh well, of course they're not friends. It's Fedele pretending. But like, you know, if these scenes were cracking along at pace, then by the time you'd had that thought, you'd be already working out what was happening. So yeah.
Yes. No. I entirely agree. I mean, I have to say, in sort of my set, Act 3 I thought functioned incredibly well. No, Act 2 I thought functioned incredibly well. I thought Act 3 didn't really do anything. It was quite short, and there was a bit of begging. It didn't quite... We've had various set pieces in each of these acts that work quite well. I'm not sure about Act 3 as a sort of central place, and I'm thinking, again, for future... for a modern performance, it's not a very tidy place to put an interval in this. I know that's not the play's fault. That's just my, the modern question of where does one put an interval, because there's so much good stuff here. There's lots of problematic stuff, but that's not necessarily an insuperable barrier, as certainly other plays with similarly problematic material seem to get away with it. Thoughts from the room before we go to final thoughts, Eric?
I was gonna say that there's a part of me going, yeah, they're probably gonna blame Medusa for all this because her business is booming and she's the one with the most to benefit from all this going wrong because everyone's gonna keep asking for cures or remedies to this. Although it's like, you know, instigated by sort of the guys and the girls at the same time.
Briony.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's either going to be at the bottom of this, or she's going to be the one that fixes it all for them in the end and sets it all right. One or the other, I reckon, for sure.
Predictions. I love predictions. We'll see whether that is how it all comes to pass. Other thoughts from the room before I go around for final thoughts about the play overall so far? No, the room is silent, so I will go to final thoughts. I will start picking on people. Aliki, I'll go to you first. Were you here? You weren't here yesterday, so you don't have the full picture, but you do have a reasonably sizable chunkette. How are you feeling about the show so far? Thoughts about what might need to happen for it for performance and just other things? Where are you at with this play?
I'm too confused to have any thoughts about performance, really, but I was so delighted by the voodoo doll and the candles in the mouth bit that I'm willing to give it a lot of chance just to see the stage that part.
Yeah, it's the overall plot is very simple. It's just there's so much incident going on that may be confusing the issue. Francis, you were here yesterday. Where are you at with this play?
I think I'm just about following it. And like you said, it's the motivations that I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand what these women see in either Fedele or Fortunio. I mean, both of them seem like scumbags, but but I would like to do a second look on it, like Sarah. And I call dibs on the part of Pedant.
Yeah, we've already had some dibs on. Sarah, you've got dibs on Medusa, haven't you?
Yes,
Good.
please.
Okay, well, we'd like to. I'd like to build up things. So, just making a note. Dibs there. And that's dibs for Sarah. Lovely. I make a note. Yeah, I think it's the motivation. It's the tidying up of loose ends that the script is not fully addressing, but which in performance we can fix. I think it's all very fixable, but I could be wrong. Other thoughts? Briony, final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm quite puzzled with this one, to be honest. There's a few really, really standout characters. Three really standout characters for me. And I'm liking the women a bit more than the men generally. But I'm reserving judgment. Very confused.
Okay, confusion abounds. Stephen, final thoughts. Are you confused? Go on.
Yes, of course. I was confused, so confused I thought I was muted. I think the elements in it aren't particularly well integrated together. I'm waiting for that to happen. I like the kind of visual imagination, the comedy and the slapstick, which of course I always do. I'm less interested in the complications which seem to be derived from the actual source, as it were. So I like the way it's being gagged up. But as a serious story, it's one I'm finding difficult to engage with.
Yeah, there's a serious story. Oh right, that's news to me. I was just treating this as a farce. Tamara, final thoughts.
I was already starting to read the bit that I'm going to have to miss tomorrow, because I want to know what happens. I really like this play. I'm still confused, very. What I particularly like is that, and I think some people disagree with me, but I don't particularly like any of them that much. And I like that. I like plays like that. So not a single character is a hero in this play. They're all a bit meh in terms of, what do you call it, morality, let's call it that. And so I like that it's complex in that way. And yeah, like I said, I'm gonna keep reading after this session to see what you guys are gonna read tomorrow, because I have to miss it.
Yeah, and there is an element that any confusions or issues are partly actually either down to the way we run these first look sessions. Some plays react better to them than others, and also the fact that there's 2 pages missing from our session today, and that I've that's thrown me. I don't know if it's thrown anyone else, because that's creeping possibility in the back of our minds, going, have we missed something? And actually we haven't really. Hopefully that'll be fine. Because what we have missed to a degree is actually integration of Crackstone into the rest of the narrative. Crackstone feels very random to us, and that's partly because we've missed at least a page of Crackstone doing some stuff. And that's an integration I really like to get more of a grip on. Eric, final thoughts?
Yeah, I have some thoughts about like how it could be staged, but like maybe via Zoom rather than just because we've been doing Zoom stuff, and second looks and so on, and also stuff about the actual like play. Where do you want me to start?
Expand.
Yeah, basically, I noticed that there isn't really a B plot. It's kind of all A plot, but like with different people falling in love with, like, you've got three male characters, 3 female characters, and then obviously the maids and stuff, who are like it's very symmetrical. You're kind of like, well, okay, eventually if it does end in a wedding or some happy ending, kind of happy ending, it will sort of very likely sort of resolve itself. Rather than, there's no B, it's not a serious A plot and then a serious, less serious B plot like we've been used to. And yeah, well, my other thoughts are sort of like about, well, it could be staged in the same way we do second looks with armies, like sort of people of the same loyalty wearing the same color kind of thing, like sort of the male characters being interested in one female character wearing the same color as that character and then changing over to another color and so on and so forth. Or, if you want to go really big, you can go placards, which is this person loves that person, which is a bit too much. And then like scratching off names off a list till they find, someone else. I don't know. Yeah.
No, I'm liking color coding. That's nice. Sarah, do you want to leap in straight away with your final thoughts?
Yes, please, because my final thoughts kind of tie in with what Eric and Tamara have both just said. I think one of the reasons why this is slightly confusing is for the reason that both Tamara and Eric highlighted. There is no real B plot. It's what we have is wheels within wheels of the A plot. And the reason we have wheels within wheels of the A plot is because of what Tamara said about the characters. Everybody is scheming, I think. It's possible Victoria isn't, but then possibly she is. And so we have these layers of scheming going on that are all kind of whirling around the central A plot. And I think that's why we're finding it slightly confusing, because we're reading it in quite a slow way. But I actually really enjoy it, because it's kind of how life works. It's all A plot and it's all intersecting, but everybody has a different set of motivations that are whirling around in a different sphere within that, and so it's really complicated. But I still feel that it's all gonna come together in a really satisfying way at the end. I hope to goodness it does.
Well, it's an interesting question about staging and about what the tone of this is at the end, because I was saying with Stephen about seeing it as a comedy, but we have these darker moments. We do have certainly sort of these threats of violence from the men, and where we place that and how we place that within the wider scope of the play, and what we do with that and what that's saying. Again, we can't fully answer that until we get to the end of the play and seeing how it ends. Is that just a representation of their worst self, or is there something about who they actually are, and how that comes across on stage? I'm just putting that up in the air because we haven't really addressed that point particularly in our discussion so far. Dan, you've stepped in after Act 1 and only got a fairly large percentage of Act 2, but you didn't get all of it. Your final thoughts?
So I do share a lot of the same thoughts in that, yeah, I'm definitely a bit lost in this. But I feel like, just as Sarah was saying, that if we saw a full reading of this at pace, we would get a pretty fair idea of what's going on. I don't think it would be nearly as confusing. I do think it goes cracking along. I do think we're in the hands of a competent playwright here. I made a comment earlier about how Crackstone, in the chat that is, Crackstone has shades of Turn Up from John O'Cumber. And so for me personally, I'd want to see this. I guess I'm interested in how Munday works right now. And hearing John Kent and then hearing this play, I want to hear some of the other plays and just see if I can sort of find out, I guess, basically what makes him tick, the way that we've seen with Robert Greene and other playwrights. As far as the printing is concerned of this, as I always have to mention, I am interested in it because part of it does seem to be based on Munday's manuscript, based on, at least it's been argued by some of the spellings that Munday has used. Since we do have some holograph copies of his manuscripts, we can do some comparison there. So it makes me think that these stage directions as well are authorial, just because they're super descriptive. And if it follows that it's Munday's handwriting or based off of his holograph, then it's probably his stage directions as well there. So for that reason, I'm very interested in continuing on with this.
And yes, certainly we will be doing more Munday over the next coming months. That is planned. Don't worry, Dan, you shall go to the ball. Yes, it's the extent of Munday's repertoire is sometimes in question, but we hopefully will cover all the very probables and almost certainlys, and eventually, of course, we'll cover anything that may be even vaguely connected to. The other point about confusion is the confusion of actually trying to explain what we're doing as we're going. With a play where we've got two characters whose name begins with F, who vaguely are interested in two people whose names begin with V. So we've got a Victoria, and we've got a Virginia, and we've got a Fedele and Fortunio, and as well as Fedele, we've also got a Pedante, and Ilias and as, and there's an awful lot of sounds. So when we try to explain it, sometimes I feel that actually we're confusing ourselves more. When I try to recap what's going on, rather than elucidating and making things clearer. So there's that element as well. That's just seeing it go by is perfectly fine. Trying to explain it makes it more bamboozling. Alan, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think the text moves at a cracking pace. The problem I can see with trying to do a second look in Zoom is that the way I see it is there's an awful lot of physical business if this was done in performance, and I'm not quite sure how we can get that across in the format we're working within. The sequence in the graveyard, for example, I can visualize how that would look on stage, and could be great fun with the two characters who are concealed, one behind a bush and the other one in the grave. How we can get that across on Zoom, I'm not sure.
It's one of those things that comedy is slightly harder to do on Zoom than tragedy. Tragedy, you just have to sort of stand around, be still and be sad. Whereas with comedy, you have to do timing, and it's quite difficult doing timing on Zoom. I think it's a matter that we might actually have to do quite active workshopping of certain scenes before we went into a second look. But I don't think it's insuperable. There's less disguising or running around. So I think we can find it's a really good point, actually, of identifying the areas that we might need to go over first, rather than just running straight into it. Zoe, final thoughts for your first session in a play that you've missed the beginning of, and all these terrifying, horrible people who keep talking at you. Any final thoughts for the play?
Not at all, not at all. Yeah, I've got a few thoughts. I've written some stuff down, so I'll tell you what I think. Some of the things that I just picked on from other people saying, like, as an audience member, I'm super interested in knowing the end, even at this point. So I think that's really interesting. As an actor, I've really enjoyed reading it, and it's been really fun to do that. So I think that says something about the piece as well, if we can find the fun even when it's so confusing. I thought some of the points about there's no B plot were quite interesting, and maybe some of the motivations that we're missing are in, like, maybe not a B plot, but an AB plot that we need to kind of find in there, like Attilia's reason for lying. Like, what the hell? That's just like out of nowhere. No, it wasn't me. Like, there must be something in that that can help us get through that. Victoria, I said that I think that she is scheming. She's definitely scheming. She's kind of hedging her bets and hiring voodoo people to do scheming for her. So I think she's definitely got some scheme going on there. The sound, the V's and the F's, is in exactly the same place of the mouth as well, you know, voiced and unvoiced. So thought that was super interesting. It makes it more confusing. And I have a question. What does it mean then, a second look? Obviously, I know what a second look means, but what does it mean to you?
This is our first look where we stop and start and we talk through it and bamboozle ourselves and try and figure out what's wrong with the script. A second look, what often happens with these first looks is we'll get to the final session, or we'll get to a certain point and we've stopped and started so much that we've lost the flow and the energy. And the play sometimes just sort of crumbles in our hands and dies. So we do a second look often with plays that we think needs the momentum and the pace. So we just read through it at pace. Occasional acting occurs. Props materialise. Stage combat sometimes is rehearsed. They're not shows. They're more the idea of what the show might be like. To really get the sense of the energy of it all. And we try to do them in as few a session as possible as well. So this length play we could just about do in one session, just go straight for it.
Okay, got it.
And find out how it goes.
We've just done we've just done a second look for Richard III, and that's online, that's on YouTube. So that should give you a pretty good idea of what we get up to.
Right.
You should specify.
Orlando Furioso is even more elaborate with like lots of stage fights.
Yes.
Yeah. There is a playlist, in fact, available of all our second look sessions if you just want to get to the nub of plays rather than listen to us waffling on. It's a process. The idea of the second look is then a stepping stone to actually a third look where we consider cuts, we consider changes, we consider what our final production might actually be. And we do occasionally do workshops as well where we just pick apart a scene or a character. It's a process. The aim is always that one day these will turn into full productions, or that we will enable the viewer out there. Hello, viewer. You and your cats are very welcome. That they might pick up the data that we're gleaming here and produce their own, which we hope you do. Who is last? I know someone's last. It's Emma, I think. Hello. Final thoughts.
Hello. Yeah, kind of similar to most people. I think it used a lot of my brain power just to grasp what was going on, who likes who's plotting what. I kept kind of scrolling back a little bit, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really vigorous play, lots of wonderful language, very funny. I think similarly to Joanna Kent and Cumber, it's a kind of play where you kind of think you know what it will be at the beginning, but then it's full of twists and turns, constant surprises, more potential couples reveals, which is great. And yeah, I think it'd be good to see it paced with the characters much more distinct to kind of make sure that you can grasp exactly what's going on. And yeah, like Aliki said, the scene in the temple was a really standout scene for me. Yeah, as a set piece, it's brilliant, and it's a very strong part of the play.
Excellent. Does anyone have any additional thoughts bouncing off other final thoughts? We have just a minute left. Dan.
Just to add one thing that I've been thinking about is just who is the audience for this. And I see that Munday has done this with other plays where he's translated French, some old French plays into English. And as Stephen had pointed out, he is lifted directly from the original Italian play and lifted straight out some Italian dialogue. It just makes me wonder about what we think about the audiences and what we've thought about playwrights and their ability to handle language. Because this one seems to me that as an audience member, it almost seems like you have to understand some Italian, given the amount of Italian there is in there. I mean, yeah, you can get away without actually knowing what they're saying, but some of it seems a bit crucial to me.
Interesting questions arising there. Tomorrow we will be returning to this play. It's going to be a slightly odd session because we're going to do a scene we've missed, deleted features first, before dipping straight back into Act 4. A lot of admin to do to get that to happen. And to say, we probably will return to this on the simple reason of trying to undo all the errors that I've made. Thanks to all the wonderful readers in the room for coping with the chaos that ensued mid-session, and all that remains to say is thank you very much and goodbye. And all thy bowels boil with hot desire.